We're live for a second time. This is the Beck Scrum. Sam and Norm in the house. Norm, you're a CS169, the Agile Development Using Ruby on Rails course. How are things going with you?
It's going well. It's been a really good course. It's been challenging. I think it takes me maybe a little bit more time than most students based on kind of the suggested hours per week.
Right.
But I'm fairly new to programming, so.
Sure. Yeah, it's certainly a course that can take up a lot more time, indeed. And so you've kind of come through. You've managed the legacy homeworks and so on.
Yes.
Before,
Yep.
and you're all ready for the next stage. So I guess you're looking to vote on a story, aren't you?
Correct.
Yes. I'm just trying to get one other guy to join us here. He's saying he's shy. So that's one of the things we have here, because we do broadcast these things, and not everybody's up for that. But so have you been having a look at the different projects on Agile Ventures at all?
I just very briefly yesterday looked at a couple of them. I saw the website. One was for the Agile Ventures course.
Right.
The Met Plus one was the Detroit area, I think, helping find a job or something like that. But that was just a brief survey.
Oh, sure, cool. Yes. Well, what we'll maybe do is I'm project manager on website one and local support, but maybe we'll try and do a little vote on local support just to get us rolling, just because that's one that I know more about. I'll just do another thing here, which is please join to help us vote. Yes, and so let me give you a little overview of. What I'll also do is I'll turn off this. I'll just turn off that recording into the QuickTime player. Move that out of the way. Don't need that anymore. Yeah, recap. My vote is basic voter. We're not blocked. It's all working well. Just for the recording. So yes, and Aresh is here as well. Aha, excellent. We have a 3. 3 is our quorum for doing voting. We'll see if Aresh can join and say hi. Hi, Aresh. Aresh is, I think, working on the async voter project. Hey, Aresh, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you
doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Aresh, Norm, Aresh.
Nice to meet you, Aresh.
Nice to meet you.
Good stuff. So, Aresh, just want to give us an update on what you've been working on? Anything blocking you at all?
Well, no. I'm waiting for another guy to implement something in the assign voter. The getting votes
yes, displaying all the votes. Yes, that's an interesting one there. It's Barry and Chio, isn't it, who started work on that, although he hasn't pushed any code. And we're actually in a little bit of a quandary there, because we all like that feature, and he seems like a lovely, enthusiastic guy. He might pop back on tonight and have the code, and then we can review it, or we may never see him again. You just never know in these distributed projects. And so we've got a, like almost, if you were spinning your wheels, Aresh, you could be just implementing that feature, at the risk, of course, of doubling up work. So anyway, maybe at the end of the Scrum, we can take a look in more detail at what's the most practical thing for you to be focusing on at the moment. But before we do that, so Norm is particularly here for the CS169 course to get some voting done on a project, and that's the Ruby on Rails background. So we'll focus on voting on something there. So yeah, local support, which Aresh, you may not necessarily know very much about, is our oldest project on website one. On Agile Ventures. And so local support is it's sort of software that supports a directory of organizations in a local area. And so the Harrow Community Network site, which is a system we've built for the Volunteer Action Harrow Cooperative, sort of manages this part of, let's go out. This is Northwest London, and this is all of the community and charity and non-profit organizations in Northwest London. It also sort of has volunteer opportunities and so on and so forth. This is our venerable Ruby on Rails, the oldest running Ruby on Rails project in Agile Ventures. And we run this all through our Pivotal Tracker instance, which I will just pull up. And so, Norma, you're familiar with Pivotal Tracker from the course, or have you used it in any other
Just from the course. So I have not really used it.
Sure. And of course, no particular need to use it right now. I can manage all of the things, but we have this sort of Kanban style, so we can see the current things that are being worked on by different developers on the project. We've got a backlog of things that have been voted on, and then we've got the icebox of things. Now, I believe, let's have a look here. Something interesting to vote on. I did just get actually a new thing in, didn't I? To do with sort of a new API that might be interesting. So this is pull in voluntary music from Team London. Just looking for a good story for us to vote. We've also set it up so that we can vote on chores and bugs, and that's not usually like the Pivotal usually recommends against that. What we've found in this sort of distributed product team sort of setting is that people coming in for the first time, for chores and bugs, they want to know, what they're getting themselves into. We've got one there as a bug, is the security bug upgrade to Bootstrap 3. I think somebody already actually started work on that one. I think Marilyn in Tunisia is looking at that opposite, so we maybe won't vote on that. So look, there's a simple one there to do with good default tags on all pages. Something else that the client is particularly after? Maybe we'll do a relatively simple one there and get that done. So we've got this story here, and this is related to an epic on search engine optimization that's currently going on. And so yeah, either of you, Norman, Aresh, you know much about search engine optimization at all?
No, not really. Just other than it's a thing. I mean,
yeah.
There's certain things you do to try and get your page higher up in the search results.
That's right. Yes. Well, we've had our client, Voluntary Action Harrow Cooperative, ask to say, that we've got volunteering functionality. They'd like, people who are looking for volunteering in the Harrow area to be seeing those aspects, seeing it appear higher in the search results. And we're using a gem. If I go and find the local support code base, that's the website. One code base is local support. It's over here. Let me just close this before I reveal an API key that I don't want to. It'll force me to reset that. So we've got a gem now that we've added that's called meta tags. It's a meta tags gem. And this is managing sort of the tags in the HTML page for us. So meta tags gem. See it on GitHub. Yeah, I think that's the one. Yes, and so this is sort of a Rails plugin, and you just add the gem, and then you can sort of configure your meta tags. And so the meta tags that then appear on every page, if we inspect the page, we can see that there's the head, and then where were they going to be? We're going to see, yeah, there's meta names in there, there it is. So this is the sort of thing like the title and the application name and these sorts of things. So it's sort of managing all this for us. And so with Lara, who's been working on this epic, she's based in South Africa, and she's got a lot of experience with search engine optimization. She introduced the gem, and she initially set it up so that it was working specifically with these organization pages. So if you have a look at an individual organization, then it will have the right kind of title associated with it underneath the hood there. If I just jump through to another one, then we can look in the back there. This is the West House there. So it's managing those titles, but in the process of setting the titles for the organizations, it removed all of the tags for the other pages. So this story comes down to ensure that we have good default tags on all pages, and so it's like, yeah, just we want to make sure that although we've got some sorts of tags being set in the organizations controller. We're going to look over here. We've got our application controllers, organizations controller. So yeah, so this is what you can see here that Lara added before. Is we've now got this set tags method here being called within the organizations controller, but we need to make sure that there's some generic tags not specific to organizations being set throughout the site. So I hope I've done a reasonable job of explaining the feature. Any questions from Aresh or Norm about Anything that doesn't make sense?
I think it makes sense to implement that. Is that something you'd probably then put in for the kind of general layout page, or?
We might do. I think the way that it's working at the moment is that we're currently running kind of a before action on the organizations controller. I'm thinking that what we probably want is some sort of a default set of meta tags being done in the application controller, and that we might have be adding an additional before action item here, so that basically for every controller it has the base set of things, and then it can be what's the word, the child controllers can override as appropriate to get the specific tags that they need, related to an organization or a volunteer opportunity or a user or what have you, that might also be displayed.
Okay.
Any questions from you, Aresh?
No question. Well, I have no idea about Rails, so.
No, sure. And I realize it's a bit of a reach here for for both of you. Like, this is new projects and so on. And we sort of have this as an assignment in the MOOC, really more as a sort of example of the process of doing the synchronized voting. I mean, also one can take part in the asynchronous voting. But so what we can do there, and maybe we'll just use the group chat environment here, is get ready to have a little vote on this. And of course, it really doesn't matter what we end up voting. It's more just for practicing the procedure. So what we would usually say is that, my rule of thumb for the 1, 2, and 3, if it's a fairly simple change to the views, or other aspects of the app, then I would give it a 1. If we've got to add a new gem that we haven't used before, we've got to change parts of the database, then okay, maybe a 2. And then if it's like, well, if there's a bigger multiple changes in the database, there's a big UI change, and maybe 1 or 2 other gems being pulled in, then I'd give it kind of a 3. So if you're ready to do a vote, to get ready to type, if you I'm going to do 3, 2, 1 and say go. If you just type either 1, 2, or 3 into the chat environment, just press the number, don't hit return yet, and then stand by with your fingers on your return key, and we'll do a synchronous vote on the complexity of the story. So I'll count down if you're all ready and you've found the chat. So 3, 2, 1, go. There we go. And Aresh may be having trouble finding that chat environment. You can always just say, now that we voted in the chat, if you can't see the chat, and 3 from Aresh, there we go. So in the situation where we get an outlier there, I guess, Aresh, so you're saying a 3 because of the unknown aspects of Rails, or what's making you think it's a 3 rather than a 1 or a 2?
Yeah, well, perhaps it's not so hard to implement, but I think it would be tedious to test. So perhaps the test will be harder to implementation.
Yeah, it was an interesting question. Of course, yeah, is that the change might be relatively simple. Then there's a question of having the tests. I mean, that's an interesting to think about the test, because if it was the case that really all of the change was adding, here are the list to do this, then one, I guess that if one was testing it at the integration level or the levels of the individual controllers, one could be checking that, you could create a shared RSpec thing that would check that set tags is called in every controller. And so that would be sort of at the level of the integration test. I think that wouldn't be too hard to write. Writing an extensive acceptance test that would check for the presence of those tags in every single page would be a little laborious, although I think it's an interesting question there, actually, about whether one would even want an acceptance test for that. Would an integration test be sufficient? Would it be just a question of checking the acceptance test, of checking, a couple of the other pages in the site from that? Yeah, interesting. I guess I would probably willing to concede it to a 2, given that we need to think about that testing side. What do you think, Norm? Now we mentioned it.
Yeah, I guess I'm fine with a 2.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I think maybe then in that case, well, Aresh, would you be willing to go with a kind of a 2 as a compromise position?
Yes, well, because I know the people who who will implement this.
Yes.
So
Yes, yes.
I will go for 2 of them.
Great stuff. Yes. Well, and so I mean the you know, of course it's a inexact science, and the key thing there is really to expose, you know, different ideas. So I think what we had there was, you know, Aresh making the point about thinking about the testing, which I wasn't thinking about as we kind of, I wasn't focused on that, and that's been really helpful for me to focus on it. And now, for example, Norm, you're not required to particularly work on this feature, although you certainly be welcome to if you want to. We've surfaced that aspect of the testing which we might not otherwise done if we just said, hey, go away and do this. So there we go. So Norm, you should now have all the elements you need for the first part of that assignment. I'll just paste the YouTube link in there into the chat. So I think it's the YouTube link and the Pivotal Tracker link, which is already in there, the 2 links that you need. So that part of your assignment is done.
All right. I appreciate the help.
Not at all. Not at all. Now, I think you say you weren't in the Slack instance?
Correct. I am not in the Slack.
Yeah. If you would like to get an invite there, then please do, you know, pop your email in the group chat there. The only one I'll mention is that the group chat from Google does disappear at the end of the Hangout. So you know, do copy those over, or you know, feel free to get in the Slack, and you know, I'll have access to those links even if you do lose them. So
okay, I just posted my.
Oh, great. Okay, yeah. Let me grab that, and I will just send you an invite. You can also get invites just signing up for the address. Oh, it looks like actually you do already have an invite. Has been sent. Yeah, okay. And of course it's, you know, one of these things that might get caught in a spam filter or what have you. But yeah, I'll see if I can get that resent to you. And anyway, you can always reach me at sam@agileventures.org if you need any help or support on any parts of the this open source assignment.
All right.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks.
You are most welcome, and yeah, maybe see you around later on for the next part of the assignment.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Norm. So, well, Aresh, maybe the scrum is over, that vote is over. Thanks so much for taking part in the votes, Aresh. Did you want to have a little talk about the what's the word? Oh, my brain's not working. Yes, the yeah, where we're up to with. Oh, God, go on, brain. I think my brain's crashed. Async voter. That's the name of the project. There we go. Yeah, so I've just got the waffle board there. Yeah, so you're saying, I mean, we've got your coverage thing in now. I think Joao's code linter, I had one little query for him there. You're kind of, you say you're kind of waiting on Berrien's thing. Is that because you're thinking of building something on top of that? What are you thinking of doing next?
Well, I wanted to document the API. Well, it's not, there are not much to document. I wanted to add the .get endpoint too, which is
right. Yes.
So that is because that is one of the reasons.
Well, I would say, I mean, you know, even though that there's that part of the API, I mean, I think even without his pull request, there's still, we know what it's supposed to be like. So I would have said that you could like actually just start doing that document for the API, create the markdown thing, get a pull request in, and you know, and have that done. I don't think we need to wait for Berrien's pull request to be in there and merged before you could do a pull request to, you know, with the API document. Would you agree?
Yes, well, it's a good point. Okay. Well, the only concern is that the other guy who is implementing the web UI thought that this endpoint is already implementing when it's not.
Yes. Well, that's a I mean, that's a separate issue. But yes, you having a pull request for the API documentation is not going to influence that. And he's on a particular schedule where he's only available at the weekends. I'm going to be pairing with him on Sunday with he's got the Premium Plus membership, and you know, we'll be getting him straight. I mean, I think we'll get to the point where if Berrien, I mean, it's sort of we need to move forward the project. If Berrien can't get that submitted or for what have you, tomorrow we'll just need to take matters into our own hand and say, you know, sorry, I know that you wanted to work on this, but we have to move forward here, and hopefully he won't be too offended. If we're lucky overnight, he'll push some stuff up. I mean, your concerns that you were raising in the channel about, you know, replication of work and fragmentation and so on are very valid ones. And then in all of the Agile Ventures projects, they're things that we kind of, forces of entropy that we fight against. Yeah. Any ideas that you've got that it's, I don't know, the thing at the moment for me is I'm thinking I've got to turn all these blog posts into kind of a book that says is kind of like the Tao of, you know, or the foo of distributed coding, whereby, you know, people just sort of, I don't know, they get a, I might be completely wrong for Berrien. It may be that he's totally happy to share his code, but just forgot to get push. But I often find with people that they're, do you know what I mean? They're worried about sharing code until it's actually done.
Yes, me included. I hold the pull request or that call until I feel that it can be reviewed or
right.
Or something.
And I understand the motivation. Of course, I think the reality, well, not the reality, what we very much encourage in Agile Ventures is opening work in progress pull requests. Because the idea is that, you know, in this sort of loose thing, anybody could just drop out at any moment. So you kind of want to leave your code there so that I mean, it's important to be able to communicate that this is a pull request that I now want a detailed review on, versus this is a pull request of just some code I happen to be working on. But it's kind of like we want to create the environment where we are all almost in the same office as each other, and we can kind of wander around and look over each other's shoulders at what we're doing, you know, or if we can't manage pairing, and having a kind of a work in progress pull request and just sort of leaving it up there and then allowing it to evolve as you push more things to it is kind of a way of working together. Does that make any sense?
Well, I didn't understand. I didn't understand you very well.
Sorry, I'm speaking too fast. My apologies.
I think
what I meant was I call it a work in progress pull request.
Yes, I got the idea. I'm not sure if a good practice, but I totally agree with you that you had to commit your current work in your branch.
Yes.
Perhaps I'm not sure if opening a wide pull request is a good practice or not, but definitely pushing your changes will allow other people to continue the work.
Yes, well, like the question of good practice, I think it depends on the. We certainly do work in progress pull requests on other projects, and it works very well. But it requires everybody to understand what's going on there. If you have work in progress pull requests, and other people are then coming in and attacking the code and saying that's bad, that's bad, that's bad, when that's not what that is. Yes, you know, everybody in the team needs to understand how that works, and you know, I think it's. You can argue in a team that's working very closely together and working full time that work in progress pull requests might get in the way, and they would be interfering and cluttering up the view for pull requests that really were ready for review. But
yes, especially because every day it's supposed that you had to review all open and pull requests.
Right.
Somehow you had to distinguish between white pull requests and real pull requests. So.
Right. So we usually prefix our work in progress pull requests with the capitals WIP, or just create a tag or what have you. And that's manageable when we do it in other projects, and it's good. Anyway, I'm going to have to nip off there. It's good to catch up with you. I know it's embarrassing to, you know, join scrums and things, but great to have you in here. Do join more whenever you're free, and hopefully we can help you get all the things that you want out of Agile Ventures, which is, you know, practicing the communication skills, the team skills, and leveling up on JS. So I'll see you real soon.
Thank you, Sam. See you soon.
Bye for now.
Bye.